And we're live. What's up, guys? I think we'll grab some water. Anyway, this has been probably the year that I've gotten the highest volume of flack ever in my career, by far. And I feel like I've handled it quite well physiologically. I remember 10 years ago when it really started coming down. It was about 10 years ago when Brett Contreras put the hammer down on me, and it was pretty brutal. And ever since, there's always been like little squabbles, and like the audience it was really big in the beginning, and then there was like smaller squabbles, and then for like the next there's like medium-sized squabbles, and then recently there's just been like these massive ones. Volume of engagements in terms of people. Somebody just asked volume of engagements, like just the amount of people that are involved in the subject matter has grown significantly. And so the common theme that I get from influencers that I've always, I won't say I've always gotten, it's been really like the last year, 2 years, is that people would just like me to be less salty about the way I address the industry itself, that I'd be more accommodating so people would feel welcomed to try and utilize functional patterns of the methodology. And I can see that. But I'll say this, the level of vitriol and hatred that comes from powerlifters, of just outright judgment, discrimination and whatnot that comes from like the powerlifting community and the bodybuilding community is pretty vast. There are a lot of really erratic, hyper-aggressive people that are not welcoming. The moment that you do anything new in this industry, these people will be the first to tell you that what you do is absolutely ridiculous, and they'll assign literally no logic to back up their positions at all, other than just having some level of cultural bias. They see The Rock in a movie and they say, well, that's what a person's supposed to look like. And they say, the further that you're away from looking like The Rock when he was on prime steroids, the further you are away from that, the more wrong that you are. And so it becomes really hard to try and not engage in cynicism when these people come in droves if you don't check them. Like at the beginning of this year, we were coming in, I think, pretty friendly for the most part. No, I think it was maybe last year around this time. We were coming in pretty friendly because we hadn't like done anything too aggressive. And then all of a sudden we like backed off. And then it just became open season from these like strength and conditioning coaches, rehab people, bodybuilders to just start going to town on our pages. And so I just said, okay, well, if it's going to be a fight, then we're going to engage in a fight. I'm never one to back down from a fight if somebody brings it to me. So I'm like, okay, well, let's do it. And so you got to pick your battles. Obviously, you can't fight every fight that somebody offers you. You got to pick your battles, ones that you think that you can win. I mean, there's no sense in picking a fight that you know you're going to lose. So I picked the battles that I know that I can win to try and slowly progress us to the limelight. And I think that we're pretty much there. And so really this video isn't really for my audience, because usually it is for my audience. This video instead is going to be for the influencers that watch my page, that are looking at my behavior, that know that they would probably get a lot of benefit from utilizing functional patterns. People that watch who want to take part but don't feel welcomed. Like anybody else, I'm like anybody else in the sense that I gravitate towards rewards. And my company is greatly undervalued. And the reason my company is greatly undervalued is because we're in an uphill battle against the narratives that people promote in this industry. And I'll just tell you guys the main narrative. Look, you can do back squats, you can do deadlifts, right? This is my central argument. And eventually this is going to be where the culture is going to shift to. It's an inevitability, right? I believe that the reality is determined. I'm deterministic. We're already going down a path that we were meant to go on. And so it all funnels down to this. Human beings primarily evolved to stand, walk, run, and throw. Those are the defining functions that make a human being human. Can we squat? Yes. Can we hinge? Yes. However, those movements themselves do not determine human attributes. Chimpanzees are fantastic squatters. Gorillas are fantastic squatters, but they're not great and engaging in oscillatory motions, right? So, key point is, human beings primarily evolved to walk and run. Those are the functions that we evolved to do the most. There's many other kinds of motions that you can do, but if we're going to talk about the function that we did the most, there's like certain mechanical sequences that are involved in these two. The function that there's mechanical sequences in these sequences inside these two functions, but these two functions are present in so much of what we do as humans. So essentially, we evolved to walk and run in terms of our motions, and we built everything from those two functions, everything about human beings. Yet we see an industry of people that do powerlifting, Olympic lifting, and all these sagittal plane exercises who emphasize that the most strenuous adaptations that we should make should take place in the sagittal plane of motion. That where you do the hardest work should take place in the sagittal plane. And that's incorrect. I say that's incorrect because that's not how it worked in nature. The most strenuous moments in our life, the most strenuous adaptations that we ever made were associated to sprinting. Or if we were going to wrestle somebody, fight somebody else, it would probably be boxing or wrestling or ground fighting or something like that. But it certainly was not training or moving in any linear capacity. So that's the position that I'm presenting. And it's important to start from that place. And so when I present that, people in the space lose their minds. They go crazy when I say that. If I say, hey, if you train your biceps, that bicep curl that you do in some capacity has to respect the sequencing that's involved in running at some point or the other. The priority of a bicep curl should be an optimized gait. If you do a tricep pull down, you should have the gait cycle in mind when you're doing that. But you should always have the human blueprint as a primary consideration when you do resistance training. I've been seen as the bad guy because that's been my summarized argument. That if you want to do back squats and deadlifts, fine, do them. Understand the risks that are associated, but really understand the risks of centering your strongest lift around something that's linear, when reality is nonlinear. When you do a suplex, you're not just lifting somebody bilaterally. It's a nonlinear function. If you want to get more power out of it, it's like there's going to be rotation all over the place when you do it. Thoughts on Judd's analysis on you? I don't even know who that is. I don't even know. I think it's that big guy or whatever, the guy that looks like he's like super athletic, probably enhanced, right? Probably enhanced. If that's who you're referring to, because I don't know, I think that's who the guy is, something Lightheart or something like that. I think I watched the video. Somebody sent me, I think that's the video. Somebody sent me the video of him saying that he only goes in on me because I go in on other methods. But the thing is, there's always this back and forth, guys. There's always this back and forth. And I'll tell you that this back and forth is eventually going to end with the other side losing. It's not going to be us losing. We're going to win this out in the end. And it's because there's patented technologies that people are going to end up... Look, an entire revolution in biomechanics is about to happen. And going back to what I was saying before, I orient myself around rewards like anybody else. Like nobody does something with the intent to damage themselves. You know what I mean? Nobody does anything with the intent to hurt themselves. Nobody ever does that. Even for people that sacrifice themselves, there's a self-benefit that comes from it. Or it's kind of like they weigh out the opportunity costs and then they make their decisions accordingly. So until I'm cited as a source, until I'm given recognition, because that's really what matters. I've made decent money, but the company should be way bigger. Until I see that there's like a significant amount of momentum and acknowledgement of what we do, man, I can't be cool with most people. Like I saw damn it, I don't want to forget his name. This is like, I don't want to come off as disrespectful. I just made a post about him. Son of a bitch. I have to memorize too many names, and I end up forgetting. Help me out here, guys. Bodybuilder who just did the switched over to doing some FP for his rehab. Come on, Naughty. What is it? Help me out here, guys. Dorian Yates. Yes, sorry, Dorian. So he came at it correct. He tagged me and he tagged Functional Patterns in the post, and he described getting benefits from it. Of course, the people that are in his comment section have to bash him like crazy for making that decision. It's the same thing that happened with Andrew Huberman. He supported Functional Patterns publicly, and he got shamed so badly from it that I think he was just like, he doesn't like me. He doesn't like the way that I come off to the industry. He doesn't like the fact that I'm not being credited for the work that I do, and I'm going to continuously aim to get the credit for my work. There's no reasons not to. It's like, if I don't get credit for my work, then I'm going to have to keep working harder and harder to resolve Functional Patterns issues as it relates to running as a company. So, of course, I'm always going to aim to get my credit. That's just how it is. So I think Huberman doesn't like that. The fact that I'm a stickler for getting credit for my work. So I think that's one thing, but I think the other one was that so many people gave him flack. And there's so many people that are going to give Dorian Yates the flack as well. But look, this is going to be an inevitability. If you have to argue with Functional Patterns point by point, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. Danny Vega writes, the comment section is wild. He's talking about how it helped him pre and post surgery, and people are saying it's bullshit and fake. Massive cognitive dissonance. Like, I'm not paying him. I mean, what advantages does Dorian Yates get for supporting Functional Patterns and saying that it helped him with his post-op? Like, what's he gaining out of that? Like, we don't have the most loyal following. We have a small group of people that I would say are pretty loyal followers. Most people are kind of like wishy-washy. They're like, yeah, this is just working out. We don't really care. It's not like people in the powerlifting community. Those dudes are down for what they do. But people aren't that down for FP. So what's the net gain? Who's he grifting for? That's the whole idea. At some level, he felt benefit. And I find it so concerning that people in the bodybuilding and powerlifting community just can't acknowledge that somebody who disagrees with them fundamentally is doing something right. Like, if I'm somehow a bad person. I had one guy that told me I was like Jim Jones, some kind of a cult leader. And I was like, really? Really? You think that I'm like Jim Jones? You think that I'm like somebody who almost murdered 1,000 people? That's what you would convince me. That's what you would want to convince yourself and others of? That I'm a cult leader? Like, think about all the things that Functional Patterns helps people with, and you're going to compare me to somebody who almost murdered 1,000 people. I'm just like, that's the industry that we're in. So I'd like to extend out an olive branch, but it's like, people want me to change my behavior, right? But if I change my behavior, there's no reward in it. What reward do I get? So this is the question. This is how it works, guys. Look, there are tit-for-tat strategies in this life, right? Whatever somebody gives you, you give back. And then, like, if they give you back something positive after they've done negatives and they apologize for it, you forgive them, and then you go back into rewarding them. So it's a tit-for-tat strategy. That's what I employ. So to me, I have to see it like this, guys. Look, if I've been bashed, like, just go on to YouTube and type in Functional Patterns and look at all the people that have made videos about Functional Patterns. See how you do a comparative analysis of how many people have bashed on Functional Patterns versus how many people have given it a legit review from an alternative, from an independent standpoint, without them bringing up all the arguments or the debates. When do they actually ever give a positive review of Functional Patterns? The simple answer is very, very rare. It's a very rare occurrence that takes place. So look, what you guys are telling me to do is not engage in a tit-for-tat strategy. If I put forth the subject matter that I do to the industry, and the people that are in this industry continue to keep giving me negatives, then what am I going to do? I'm writing on the way that biology has worked for billions of years. I'm going to use the same tit-for-tat strategy because that's always worked. If you guys don't change your behavior, then how do you expect me to change my behavior? I came onto the field, you guys gave me negatives. I put content out, even if it's good content, you guys give me negatives. So I'm going to just keep giving negatives back. So until I see more posts like Dorian Yates, I'm not going to be cool with anybody. You just got to give credit. Just give props. Don't acknowledge the controversies or whatever. And don't compare me to anybody. I'll tell you that much. Like, look, I'll just be very overt about it. If you mention the name Functional Patterns and Naudi Aguilar, don't mention Goda and don't mention David Weck in the same sentence, because it's not the same thing. There's there's way more sophistication. I have multiple patents. I have so many things that I've developed in my career, and I don't want to be compared to anybody. It's kind of like Functional Patterns is in its own league, and it deserves to be treated as such. So what I don't understand is how people just expect a guy like me to be like, let bygones be bygones. Let people, mistreat me and then just expect Naudi to change. I need rewards, right? I need public support. That's one thing. And I need people taking on what we do in the ecosystem, not just ripping it off wherever they can. It's like, don't acknowledge what I do behind closed doors and then bash me publicly. Until that changes, there's no way in fuck that we can take on anything but a cynical attitude with this industry. Here it is right here. I'm so pissed off. At the beginning, I was trying to start FP and I saw some dumb negative review and I believed it and bought another program clearly didn't work and wasted $150. This is what I mean. This is what I mean. This is what I'm talking about. Every time that you guys do this and you bash on me publicly, you ensue doubt in the public and it makes it harder for me to sell Functional Patterns. And it makes it more difficult to run this operation that's helping people. So you can't sit there in good faith, consciously saying, Naudi, you should change your approach to this industry. You can't tell me that. Like, you can't tell me that I should change until the industry reflects back what I'm putting out there. I know that what I put out there is not being reflected back to me. Just give me 1 second, guys. This course is not going to show it. Anyway, this is what I put out there. I put out positivity like crazy. And what do I get? People being unbelievably nitpicky with me, with my community. These are the changes that we make. And so until we see people just come out in good faith and just acknowledge good work, without worrying about what their buddies are going to think, sorry, it's not going to change. This can't change. We will forever fight until the culture changes, and we're slowly changing. We're putting a dent in this society in terms of how people perceive the body. If you think that we're just going to go away, or that I'm going to go away, or that my name recognition is going to go away, you're mistaken. You're mistaken. My stock is only going to go up. With that vector trainer alone and the dozens of other innovations that we already have developed right now that we're going to have in Project Function facilities, it's going to be really hard to deny what I've done because there's going to be a track record of it. There's going to be quite literally a source to it. You're going to see all these patents that are going to be out there over the course of the next few years. I'm not going to fucking go anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. This face is not going to go anywhere. Well, it might change if I fix my mechanics fundamentally. Man, am I learning some shit right now. But this community isn't going anywhere. So you either need to learn how to work with us in good faith if you want to have a positive experience with us. And if you don't engage us on good faith, then we'll engage in bad faith and continue to keep racking up wins one person at a time when they show up and work with us in person. So this isn't about me changing my behavior. It's about you guys changing your behavior. I'm putting it out there. Now it's up to you guys to reflect what we're doing for people. And if you're going to keep avoiding it, then there's no olive branch. I'd like to extend an olive branch to people. But the ball's in your guys' court, and it's been in your guys' court for the longest fucking time. You can't, in good faith, say that squatting and deadlifting are a more fundamental function to human beings than walking and running. You can't say that squatting is a more fundamental function than standing for human beings. You can't tell me that what identifies a human being is a squat, because we know that that's not the case. So I think that that's mostly it. The ball's in your guys' court. If you're a public figure, if you can't shamelessly plug functional patterns, if you can't simply just say, hey, look, props to Naudi, what he's doing is helping me, and you can't overtly say it in the public. If you can't say, hey, you know what, I was dealing with this pain, then I did functional patterns and then it helped me. If you can't say that because you're afraid of what your audience says, then you and I are never going to be cool. And if you do acknowledge what we say and what we talk about, and then you decide to put me in the same camp as Goda or Weck or whatever, then sorry. We can't reconcile. This ain't gonna, we aren't jiving. I'll just put it that way. We can't jive. We can't be cool because you're not speaking accurately. You're not speaking in good faith because they're not the same thing. Functional patterns is its own thing. It's a clear evolution in terms of what's happened in this industry. And if you don't want to acknowledge that, then so be it. Somebody put definitely running and walking are most used. Yeah. There's nothing we have to change in this community. 95 to 99% of your training should aim to enhance walking and running. Your intense training should aim to enhance sprinting. And if you enhance your sprinting and you make yourself a faster sprinter, the probability is you're going to be very good at developing athleticism everywhere else. Mike Israetel has become a great squatter and a great deadlifter probably, but he moves terribly. If you become a great sprinter, that's like the root mechanism that makes you good at everything else. Anybody who disagrees with that, it's the equivalent of some like weirdo in society. You're a weird person if you can't acknowledge that. You're weird or you're just highly biased. Probably a bit of both. Because there's some people, there's a very small subset of the population that are like fully just, they're so entrenched in their own biases that they feel that they couldn't survive if they accepted that framing. But that's just how it is, guys. The probability is that the most fundamental root functions for humans are standing, walking, running, and throwing. And walking, running, and throwing are very similar to each other in some basic ways. I got my sprints in today, already 5 sets of 60 meters. You may not be getting the full idea, bro. Be careful. This is the problem, because if I tell people, hey, you should get stronger at sprinting, then people say, well, I should sprint more. And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you aim to enhance the function of sprinting, but not necessarily sprint all the time. The point is that you should aim to focus on fixing your imbalances on your body and then developing strength on balance. Because a lot of times people will misunderstand my messaging. Elaine writes, sprints are too fast to correct mechanics. Correct, that is correct. Anyway, guys, I'm off for the day. All the best. Take care. Bye.